Good evening, YouTube. You guys are watching another segment of the Cali Effect. Today, I'm going to be talking about the top 5 decks you guys should be playing. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be telling you to play a deck that couldn't be competitive or couldn't win a big type of event. So with that being said, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be playing the decks on this list. These decks just might give you the best chance to win either your local, regional, or even a YCS level event. Without further ado, let's get to number 5. Number 5 on this list has lost a lot of love, and it went from being the indefinite tier 1 deck to not being in so many people's limelight. I'm talking about Blueeyes White Dragon. Now, when I start talking about this deck, I want to make a point to give you a reason why you shouldn't be playing this deck, and then other reasons why you should be playing this deck. Hopefully, the reasons why you should outweighs the reasons why you shouldn't. The biggest reason about not playing Blueeyes is that it does have trouble with the best deck in the format. And when I genuinely mean the best deck in the format, I'm talking about ABC because of its sheer numbers. The deck is easy to build, it's cheap, and it's very, very easy to play. ABC Buster Dragon can pose a really big threat to the Blueeyes strategy, but outside of that, Blueeyes has some really good matchups against the other decks. It has built-in back row destruction, and it still relies on summoning a huge dosage of heavy, strong monsters that can overwhelm the opponent. Ultimately, I think Blueeyes could be a deck that you can take and win your local, regional, or YCS level of win, just because it's still a really good deck with access to a lot of extra deck cards. Anything that can summon Hope Harbinger is a deck that I like. Number 4 on this list is Hero and Invariants alike. This deck is really good, but before I want to talk about the good, let's talk about the bad. The bad seems to be that this deck is heavily reliant on traps. And if you're a deck that's heavily reliant on traps in a format where you want to go first and everybody else wants to go first and you don't go first, you're probably going to be at a huge disadvantage. But other than that, this deck has received some huge support inside of Totally Awesome, a card that can be used by summoning 2 Bubble Mans and then can retrieve a Bubble Man back from your graveyard to your hand. Outside of that variant, there's also the Tzolkin Heroes or Destiny Hero deck that's running around. It's awesome at making free Crystal Wings and cards alike. If you guys actually want to see the Tzolkin Hero variant, I have a deck profile and I also have a real life game of both of them on my channel. Check down the link in the description below. Even with all of these new cards in the hero strategy arsenal, any deck that can still make Mass Hero Darklaw consistently can be a very big threat in formats like this, where all of the cards in ABC decks need to go to the graveyard and everybody loves to search. Darklaw is a real threat to these strategies. Number 3 on this list is another abuser of the awesome of Totally. Get it? Awesome of Total? Forget it. Mermails is a very good deck. Now, before I talk about how good they are, we have to talk about the bad. This deck isn't initially built to go first. So if you ever in a situation where you're forced to go first, I hope you built the deck to go first, or to have some things for you when you're going first. But other than that, Mermails is a very fast-paced, consistent OTK enabler. And now that I think about it, it's been on every single archetype top 5 list because it's that good of a deck. Mermails also have a new abusive card called Totally Awesome, the card that gave our number 4 its hype. Totally Awesome is an amazing card in Mermails because it allows you to search pieces from your graveyard like Dragoons back to your hand, Mermail Abyss Megalo, and cards alike. Ultimately, not only does it give Mermails a control piece, it also allows them to refuel their hand and go for another huge push of damage. Number 2 on this list is an assortment of decks. And the reason why I say that, because you could probably use any of the 3, all 3 of them together, 2 of the 3 or none of the 3 and still be very successful with it. I'm talking about Burning Abyss, Phantom Knight, Infernoid, and like I said, any of those meshed together or none of them meshed together, as long as you're using Dante, this deck can be very good. Now, the biggest problem with this deck is that it's severely limited. Let us sit down and take a side for the limited cards that I can think of briefly off the top of my head. There's Tour Guide from the Underworld, limited to 1. There's Graph, limited to 1. There's Seer, limited to 1. And then there's some 4th card that I just wasn't thinking about. But the ultimate upside about this deck is Dante limited. Is Dante banned? LOL, okay Konami, you did a really good job at stopping this deck. This deck actually makes makes it really hard to side against. Mainly if you're playing the Burning Abyss Infernoid variant, it's almost impossible to side against. Or if you're playing the Phantom Knight PK variant, it's just really good. It creates a very overwhelming board. It has access to all of the rank 3s in the game, and it's a deck that floats, because we all love decks that float.
Hey guys, if you guys would like to buy the cheapest Yu-Gi-Oh cards from your favorite Yu-Gi-Tuber, all you have to do is click on the link in the description. That will take you to Google Docs where everything is listed below. Thanks for watching.
Number 1 on this list is arguably the best deck of the format. And when I mean the best, I feel personally, it is better than ABC. It is the deck that if you're not playing these other 4 on the list, don't even worry about playing ABC. Pick up this deck. And I'm being pick it up while the cards are cheap. And when I mean cheap, Desires isn't cheap, so the deck isn't cheap, but still, pick this deck up. I'm talking about Metal Foes. And no, we're gonna axe off Metal Foe Yang Zings. We're just gonna talk about Metal Foes. Because before I read the new Metal Foes, I was thinking Metal Foe Yang Zing. But then the new Metal Foes came. And it was kind of like, you know, a Bill Cosby to me. They just dropped one in my drink and I just slept on them completely. Metal Foes, the bad thing about them is that they're weak to Twin Twisters. Dimensional Barrier sucks. And Magical Springs is a card that I hate when I'm playing this deck. The great thing about this deck is that it's a pendulum deck, and everybody knows how broken the pendulum mechanic is. You know, being able to special summon monsters that were fused or sent to your extra deck regardless to resummon them again. Also, being able to have access to Magispector Kirin, because Kirin itself can be a complete blowout to any deck. This deck is just awesome. And then to add more on top of that, the new fusions are nothing to laugh at. Metal Foes Merithium and Metal Foe Alkaheist, they're just awesome cards. So if you guys have not picked up this deck cord or picked up these cards, I advise you to pick them up now, because this is the best deck of the format, and definitely if you're not playing the other 4, you should at least be playing this one. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the Cali Effect. I want to know you guys' top 5 decks that aren't ABC that you should be playing this format. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy.